white elderly man in Florida repeatedly beat a pregnant black woman due to discrimination. Disturbing surveillance footage shows that on May 16, 23-year-old Raym McCoy was checking out at a gas station front desk when 59-year-old Kevin Williamson walked up to the front desk with a beer in his hand. He stood behind McCoy and pointed his fingers at her with discriminatory language, shouting at her and asking her to come back to her place. McCoy was very emotional and then had an argument with Williamson, pushing the beer he had placed at the front desk to the ground. Williamson became angry and began repeatedly hitting McCoy's head. She tried to protect her face with her hands, but Williamson continued to punch her at least 10 times before walking out of the store. Subsequently, McCoy called 911 and was urgently taken to the hospital for treatment. After examination by doctors, she suffered facial injuries and moderate concussion, requiring bed rest treatment. Shortly afterwards, Williamson was arrested by the police and charged with minor assault. In court, Williamson claimed that McCoy had initiated the conflict, but the surveillance footage exposed his lies. McCoy's lawyer stated that at the time of the attack, McCoy was pregnant, resulting in serious violent injuries to both lives. He requested that the charge be upgraded from minor assault to serious assault. Williamson was ultimately sentenced to 1 year in prison by the judge for serious assault. What do you think about this?
A 32-year-old black man was found hanging from a tree in Georgia this week, and police concluded it as suicide, while the medical examiner's review remained pending. It's not an isolated case. Since March 2025, at least 22 black people have been found dead in suspicious hanging circumstances across the country. In September 2025, Dre Reed was found hanging from a tree at Delta State University in Mississippi, ruled a suicide before a full independent autopsy. In November 2025, 39-year-old Tori Medley was found hanging from a tree at a golf course in Wisconsin, ruled a suicide while the medical examiner's investigation remained open. In February 2026, 21-year-old Kyle Basinga was found hanging from a tree in Cobb County, Georgia, ruled a suicide again. In nearly every case, families disputed the findings and requested independent investigation. Lynchings was used for generations to intimidate and terrorize black communities, and the pattern of dismissing these deaths quickly is not a new one. Civil rights researchers documented over 70 suspected modern-day lynching cases in the Deep South since 2000 and found that a suicide ruling typically ends further investigation entirely. In case after case, black people found hanging, investigations close fast, conclusions are rushed, and families are left with a ruling and no answers. At a time when white supremacy activity is on the rise, the federal government has pulled resources from domestic extremism investigations, and the administration's posture has emboldened racial hatred. These deaths cannot be simply dismissed. Society as a whole needs to name it, demand investigations, and build the systems to make sure it cannot keep happening in the dark.
What's up, everybody? This is Snack Man from FBA News, and I know I originally started this channel to bag and disrespect and shit on the tethers, and we're still gonna do that. We are still gonna do that, but if you allow me, I'm not gonna do any funny shit or any clown around. I'm just letting you know. I'm asking y'all, out of respect, to allow me to preach to you today. To preach to you. Now, I came up with Southern Baptist, but I'm not really a religious man. But the subject today that is giving me such fervor and anger and distress and all that wrapped into one is, I saw a video of a white man in Florida. Florida is where I come from, where I was born and raised, but it is not the place that I was born and raised in no more. It has become something so foul. This white man, I'm not going to say white tea, because fuck the AI. Fuck the AI that tries to censor what we say. They let Chud the Builder run around with a fucking gun calling black people the N-word, and he was hiding behind free speech. So I can promise you in this sermon, we dropping everybody's government name today. This white man attacked a pregnant black woman in a mini mart in Florida. And I'm like this, look, not everybody has it in them, but y'all need to find it. You need to find it. Because it is clear to me, between all the hangings and all the shit that's been going down lately, how white people have been ramping up their activities when it comes to us now. Now, they are cowards, they are pieces of shit, they are being selective on whom they fuck with, which means that the weakest and the lesser amongst us must become deadly. Let me tell you something. When I was a boy, racism was around. It was in effect. It was so powerful that the only people that really talked about it was black people. Nobody else really. You knew what was going down. You had an idea, but it wasn't in your face like this. This shit is out of control. But let me tell you something. With all that said, the black folk I grew up with, motherfuckers knew that there was a price to pay if they crossed the line, and that price to pay was blood, and it was their blood. It was their blood. It was their blood. I don't know if it's the millennial generation or whom the fuck ever, but when motherfuckers started letting all these other groups call them nigger, y'all open up the floodgates to a lot of bullshit. You open up the floodgates to a lot of bullshit, but you want to know something? The purpose of this sermon is not to put y'all down or even just raise you up, but make you aware of the circumstances that we are living in right now and what is required of you. Let me tell you something. Why do you think that Chud the Builder, that gay piece of shit, right? You know? Fucking that whore Shiloh Hendricks, that piece of shit coward Daniel Penny, who snuck up on a crazed homeless man with his back turned to do what he did. Why do you think those people, Kyle Rittenhouse, and even that piece of shit who is living in hell right now being homeless, George Zimmerman, why do you think that they come out the woodwork and reward those people when there's homeless white people on the street and they don't do shit for? Why there is white people dealing with cancer and all sorts of shit, whose kids doesn't have any food to fucking go to school because they don't do school lunch no more, whose teeth is fucked up. Why don't you think these white nationalists actually go out there and really help white people? Why do you think they put so much money behind these people who commit these deplorable acts against us? Because they're not good people. They're not good people. They're an evil people. And they revel in it. You know? You got ones who are nice. They're nice. But we all know if push came to fucking shove, you are getting thrown out the boat like Nolan Wells. Yes, I said it. I'm going to say a lot more by the time we get done here. So you have to look at that and truly see your enemy and deal with him accordingly. Let's take it to the Asians for a second and we'll circle back. All right? Which I'm just going to say right now, fuck the Asians. A lot of them come out saying that they hate us, and I know a lot of creators, a lot of black commentators. We've got Daniel, we got Brother Phil, we got Tyreek. They have brands, where they speak of blackness in terms of respectability and a higher consciousness. But you want to know something? We have way too many high conscious people. We need some fucking crash outs. I am a crash out channel. I am a crash out. I will be the only crash out if need be, but I am a crash out. That is who you are listening to. So, I segue onward to the Asians, right? Let's take it to the Boxer Rebellion. I'm not sure if it was amidst or after the 100 years of shame, but let me tell you something. They took note after the Boxer Rebellion. They took motherfucking note. Those Chinamen put some whoop on their ass. And it wasn't the fact that they whooped their ass. They were savage with them. You can look it up. In the Boxer Rebellion, there was a pregnant missionary white woman. They chopped her fucking head off. And you want to know something? Even though they could have made a more serious issue of it, they could have really pressed them, they backed the fuck off. Because, one, these people stopped them from getting any real inroads in there. See, that's one thing you have to give the Chinese, right? They did something that our ancestors in Africa damn sure didn't do, and our ancestors here in America damn sure didn't do. And that was stand on your square and protect your home. You weren't just nice to everybody knocking at the door, and I'm going to come back to that nice part. Now, we fast forward to today. And now, the Asians and the white people are so nestled up under each other. You have little Asian men walking around calling themselves white, which really the joke is on them in the long run. The joke is on them because inevitably, just like everybody else, they'll betray them, especially if it's just the Asians and white people. It's inevitable. But I digress. They earned their respect. And they understood. They moved on to fucking Japan. When Japan gave them an excuse, they moved on to Japan. They demonstrated shock and awe. Remember those words. We'll go back to those words. We will. Right? So, we go back to now. And I've heard so many black commentators say, well, I don't want to say I hate these people, like with the Asian boycott and all this shit, and they're trying to bring up, the Asians are now talking about this shit now. They're trying to bring up this situation up because they're still losing money, which I think is awesome, but they don't understand their absolute irrelevance in this situation. But here is the thing that y'all need to think about. I hear commentators I respect, creators I respect say we have the high moral position and authority throughout the world. But you want to know something? That may be true. But how many championships does that win? Is that something that you can really hang your hat on? Is that something that you can build empires with? And why do we feel that way? When we had an era with two men, hell, they based a motherfucking comic book series off of that shit, which, once again, if black people do it, it influences shit, it changes shit. X-Men was based on Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And I see in the wake of the Civil Rights era, we have way too motherfucking Martin Luther Kings with this high, pious, moral, oh, well, you know, because we're black people, we don't do that. You want to know something? When they start attacking our pregnant women, when they start attacking our children, you know, little white boys, you know, I saw little white boys today trying to hang a little black boy in a fucking school. In a fucking school. You know? I'm just going to be real with you guys. You need to get your head out your fucking ass. If you still on that moral bullshit. Because you're dealing with immoral people. You're playing by a rule book with somebody who clearly does not give a fuck about the rules. And I'm kind of like this. Haven't you ever thought why? Think about it. Everybody always talks about Martin Luther King. Barely anybody, unless it's us, bring up Malcolm X. And we all know why, honestly, those of us who have a brain, they want us, they're trying to program us to be like him. They want us to be complacent so they can keep enacting that casual killing act. Aren't you tired of being punching bags? Well, I'm just saying. Aren't you fucking tired of being punching bags? I'm tired of seeing y'all be punching bags. I'm tired of seeing y'all, and it ain't all y'all. Let me tell you something. Carmelo Anthony, he did right by his people in so many ways. And yes, Carmelo Anthony was a crash out for us. And we owe him all of our resources and protection. We owe him that. We owe him that. Because let me break it down for you. I saw some videos where people were talking about the real Austin Metcalf, which I'm just going to say it. I'm glad the little Nazi bastard's dead. I am glad he's dead, and I hope that when Carmelo stabbed him, the time he had left on this earth was filled with pain and horror and suffering, and hell was waiting for his little punk ass. Because all he was about was attacking and bullying people. He put hands on a girl and nobody did anything about it. He went after and attacked a black boy in class and nobody did anything about it. The black boy was smaller than him, of course. The pattern remains the same. It never changes. You know, they're not going to go after the predators in our group. Oh no, they save the police for that. But you know, sometimes the police get caught too. I continue on. I have a theory. Carmelo brought that knife because those two racist pieces of shit, because then they caught them spray painting saying death to all blacks, which, how ironic. You spray painted death to all blacks and a black kid murders your punk ass. How ironic is that? KKK, Ku Klux Klan, all that shit, right? He wasn't just a boy that was set awry, talking about that autism man cat piece of shit. He was built from the ground up. He was a missile, a weapon pointed right at us. And he had a reputation. Carmelo probably heard said reputation, and he brought him some protection. Because just the way how, when they explained the story to me, how he froze up and how prepared he was, I was just like, oh, okay, maybe he's a little dude who's just hostile. I've met little dudes who are hostile and ain't taking shit. I think he knew what that boy was about. I think maybe he went to that tent on purpose, knowing that something could happen. And when it did, he did his thing. And yeah, he defended himself. But the system is still the fucking system. Right? And the vitriol there. See, look. I'm going to give y'all a story about me in this sermon. I was on a bus. I was minding my business. Not bothering nobody. A story as old as time in memoriam. And this motherfucker, this crazy LA hobo motherfucker, got on the bus and started some shit with me about space. And you want to know something? I don't know what it was, but I had a day. And let me tell you something. I grabbed that motherfucker by the scruff of his neck and I banged his head into the fucking metal pole, one of the metal poles on the bus, close to the bus driver, making a noise with his head over and over again. And then he was screaming and all sorts of begging and all that shit. And even though this motherfucker, this white motherfucker, started it with me. He started it with me. This homeless piece of shit started it with me. And he got his ass sorted out in front of everybody. Let me tell you something. When his ass slid down to the ground and cried when I let him go. Right? And the bus driver was talking all sorts of shit. And I told the bus driver to shut the fuck up. And he did. And he drove his ass to my bus stop. Let me tell you something. On that bus, you could hear a fucking pin drop. There was some Mexicans in the back who were laughing, other than that. But fucking, yeah, it was mostly white folk on this bus. And they all looked at me with deer in the headlights eyeballs. And it wasn't any anger in their eyes about what I had done. It was pure fear. It was pure fear. And I can tell you, as a man that has dealt with a lot of people who has gotten out of line, and I have helped bring them back to reality really hard in some cases, you can actually taste fear. You know what it feels like. The orgasmic feeling that you get from it, especially when you are in the right and you just sorted out this piece of shit. Everybody was scared. Little Asian piece of shit dude was terrified. Like I said, you could hear a pin drop. And I don't know why. I think it was still this programming to where the society puts this programming in our head for us to limit ourselves, to make ourselves less than. Remember that. The words I said before, all those people on that bus were witness to shock and awe. The hobo, he saw many things that night. He might have saw his pants turn an even darker color after I was done with his ass. He might have got religion that night, because he damn sure got blessed by these hands. And for whatever reason, after I admitted my shock and all the people were terrified, except for the Mexicans. They thought that shit was, they was giggling in the back, thought it was the funniest shit ever, right? For some reason, I had stopped a couple stops from my bus stop. I don't know why. It's that programming where somehow releasing true black anger coupled with unmitigated black might upon this oppressor. Even though he was homeless, he was an oppressor who was trying to use his privilege to bogart himself into my space, right? And try to get physical with me, right? And I got physical with him in a very serious, brutal way. I violated this motherfucker in front of everybody. All right? I got off the bus. And I remember the little Asian dude, he got off the bus with me, right? And I'm walking, and this motherfucker's behind him. And let me tell y'all something, I could hear him breathing. He was breathing so hard because this pussy was so scared. He was terrified. Everybody on that bus was terrified. And I'm not bringing this up to be cocky, to show off, because this is a serious subject. I am bringing this up because I am telling y'all this is a call to action. We are not holding back on this video. This is a call to action. Listen up, y'all. These motherfuckers are afraid of you. Why do you think they go after our weakest? Why do you think they go by the cover of night? Why do you think they go out of this way? Look, superiority don't move like that. Superiority just straight up takes in the daylight in front of everybody just to let people know it can do whatever it wants. Inferiority builds an unfair system so they can commit such actions. Y'all need to get in touch with that power. Y'all need to get in touch with that black anger, that anger of the ancestors who weren't all peaceful. Because let's bring up another name they fear more than Malcolm X, and that's fucking Nat Turner. Let me tell you something. When Nat Turner did his thing, he was not alone. And he was far, far, far from the only one. He was far from the only one. There was numerous slave revolts. They would have you believe that we was all passive. You see, they go through such lengths to hold us back. Why do you think when we make strides in music, when it was clear our physical superiority in athletics, but we still had to jump through hoops. Satchel Paige should be a 10 gazillion time baseball champion. And if you don't know who that is, you need to fucking look him up. Because, look, Babe Ruth couldn't carry Satchel Paige's fucking jockey strap. Let me tell you something. The way our shit is right now, I ain't restraining myself no more. Oh, no. Anybody want it, you gonna get it. What happened with that bum that night? I'm looking to make that happen with somebody out here who's looking for a problem. Because the thing is, there are motherfuckers out here looking for a problem. And there are motherfuckers dumb enough to look for a problem from a motherfucker as big as me. And that's the energy that y'all need to have. I ain't saying be like them and just jump on somebody for the sake of doing it. But when these motherfuckers get out of line, if they wrinkled, you straighten the ass out. And if they make this some Lethal Weapon, mano-y-mano thing, do Carmella and the sister that blew away that fucking dumbass race soldier proud. And you put his ass in the fucking ground. Because let me tell you something about these people. Right? They will brutalize. They will manipulate. They'll do all sorts of little bullshit for their people. But let me tell you something. Killing somebody, that's the easy part. Killing children and the defenseless amongst us, that's the easy part. You want to know the hard part is? What they ain't willing to do, which goes to show they don't really even believe in the shit that they have based their culture on, is die for it. Let me tell y'all something. One thing that is guaranteed for sure, we all gonna die. We are all gonna die. And I am in that group with the rest of you. I'm gonna die too. We all gonna die. But let me tell you something. And this is what I believe. There is no greater thing to die for than your people.